Hi, my name's Lo. You've seen me throw every grain of pride to the side and beg for art supplies on the internet, and guess what? Having no self-respect works. ARRTX contacted me and asked if I wanted some supplies to review. They sent me a sketchbook and the OROS 90 marker set. The sketchbook has 180 GSM acid-free paper. It has an interesting spine. The spine is made on purpose so that it's supposed to lay flat. On the website, they also advertise that it makes it easier to tear out pages. So if you're prone to hating your sketchbook, or you like to give away drawings in your sketchbook, this might be for you. Normally a sketchbook is bound in a traditional way where pages are stuck together. So you'll, if you want to take one page out, you're gonna have to remove a random page somewhere else in the sketchbook as well. The sketchbook has a pocket in the front, which is good. I do wish that it had a elastic to keep it closed because there's nothing that is keeping this closed right now. And there's also no ribbon in it, so you never know exactly where in the sketchbook you are. You could add it yourself, or you could add a little bookmark or something, but it would have been, a nice touch to have at least a ribbon and some way of closing the sketchbook. Because if you throw this in your bag, you risk something like getting stuck, curling the pages, anything like that. Then we have the set of 90 markers. I did a sketchbook spread to test them out. I was unsure if the best strategy would be to try to do something where I used as many markers as possible, or if I would stick to my traditional way. I did stick to my normal style. I figured, if you're here and you like my art, you're probably gonna want to know how I would use the markers. So without further ado, I'm gonna send you off to VoiceOver with the demonstration and review of these.
So let's talk about the markers. In the set, it's 89 colors and a blender. If you want to spend time arguing with me if we can count black as a color, get out of my comment section. The markers are chisel and brush, which is usually my personal preference. I love using a chisel tip to just fill in color, but there's something about a brush tip where you just feel like an artist, and it also feels much better to blend with. They come with a swatch sheet with the numbers and the names of the colors, which is very nice. You should always swatch your colors first so you know what you're working with. I will list all of the markers that I ended up using in the description. I also ended up using some fine liner and pencil at the end. Alcohol markers are great, just not for detail work. When I got the markers, they were not arranged in the order of number, so I had to do that myself. Spent some time doing that. The box has a grid at the bottom, which makes it very easy to move the markers around and put them where you want them. I might have liked it if the box made storing the markers horizontally easier or more instinctive. When you're storing markers, storing them horizontally is usually preferable because you don't want the ink to run over to one side of the marker and dry out on the other. If all your markers are standing vertically with the chisel tip up, that chisel tip is going to dry out a lot quicker because all of the ink is running down to the bottom of the marker. The colors are pretty accurate to the colors on the cap, but make sure you do swatch because some of them are a bit different. You should always swatch because sometimes the colors are different than what they seem to be based on the cap. I'd say that these markers are very accurate to the color of the cap, but some of them were a bit off. However, if you look at the names of the colors, you might be able to deduce that the color of the actual ink might be a bit different than the color of the cap. Some of them also, for some reason, swatched the colors a bit differently on the brush nib and the chisel nib. I don't know what was going on there. The markers themselves are very juicy. I'd say you get a great deal for the price, honestly. I also have some notes on things that I would have liked to see. I would have liked them to provide a cover to use behind the paper because markers bleed. Everyone who uses markers knows that markers bleed. Some companies provide you with a protective sheet that you can put on the other side of the paper to stop the bleeding continuing into several pages. That would have been a nice touch. It's obviously not necessary. You can also just use a regular piece of paper and put it behind there and that works as well. The barrel of the markers are not circular, which helps them not roll off the desk, and they're very comfortable to hold. They are not circular enough that they won't roll off the desk. Trust me, I had a couple of those, but you know, you're not going to be chasing them around constantly because they're like rolling all over the place. Another little like petty thing that I would have liked to see, the cap cannot be put on the other side of the pen. So you're going to have to just put the cap somewhere. It's always nice when you can put the cap on the other side of the pen so that you're not losing the cap. It's not rolling, it's not falling anywhere. It's just there at the end of the pen that you can take off and put it back on. This note is stupid because they obviously have provided me with a set that has a large variety of colors, but I could have easily foregone like 5 grays and had a bit more variation within like browns and skin colors. As I was using the swatch sheet in the beginning, I was like, why do I feel like I have just swatched 4 of the same red? There were some of them when I was swatching them, I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Why do I have this? And the final note is that, as far as I can tell, you can't refill these. If you finish a marker, you have to buy a new one instead of buying, you know, just the ink. It's always nice when you have a slightly more sustainable option than throwing away an entire marker just to buy a new one. So the question is, are the markers worth it? Yes, I'd say so. Currently, the ARRTX OROS 90 color alcohol marker paint pen set retails for $87.99. If you divide that by 90, that is less than $1 per marker, which I would say is a pretty good deal. As markers have become more and more popular, different brands have come out with more cost-effective markers. You obviously have like the traditional, more expensive ones. I'd say that these from ARRTX, honestly, I can't really tell a difference. They feel just as good as my expensive markers. Okay, so let's talk about the art for a minute as well. I'm gonna be completely honest. Sometimes I just open my sketchbook and I look at this spread just to feel good about myself. I've been struggling a lot lately to create things that I feel like is me, that feel creative, and it feels like something that I want to like put out and show. And when I was creating this, I felt like, oh yeah, this is it. Like this, okay, we might be onto something here. I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about like the slight collage feeling of it, I think I might need to explore that more. Obviously, we all know that I love portraits. I love drawing faces. It is my comfort zone. I love doing it. But just drawing faces to me isn't enough. I need to do something else. And in this spread, I was like, okay, I love faces. Obviously, I'm going to draw a portrait. But what else do I love? I fucking love just like a combobulation of different random things. I love stickers. I love typography. I love text. And as I was drawing this, I was like, oh, I need something at the bottom. I don't know what to do. When I had finished the sketch, everything except the megaphone was there. And I felt like something was missing. And for a while, I was like in my head trying to figure out, okay, I need something that like fits in here, that like makes sense. And at some point, I just kind of turned around, looked myself in the eye, in the sense that you can turn around and look yourself in the eye. And I went, why? Why do you feel like you need to spend so much time trying to come up with something that will like make sense? And then I just went, all right. And then I opened Pinterest, and the first image that popped up was a megaphone, and I said, bet. And it felt right. As I was doing it, I'm like, oh, of course there's a megaphone here. I had been avoiding doing portraits with markers quite a bit because I didn't have a huge variation of skin tones. So as I was doing this portrait, I felt like I finally had enough different values and colors to like build up a skin tone that looked like right. Previously, I would have worked with like one marker as a base and then maybe 2 other ones, one trying to like make a shadow and then one trying to make like a mid-tone. It's not enough. with this set of markers, I was finally like, woohoo! It's Skin Color City! Obviously, I would have liked a like proper skin color set to like really push it, but I'm not gonna lie and pretend that I'm not very happy with the way that the skin on this drawing looks. Also, it looks like the reference picture, which is always a big win. This is the first time a brand has reached out and sent me something because they felt like I had something important to say. So when I look at this spread, it feels like, oh my god, okay, you have these supplies because people feel like what you have to say is valuable. And I also come to a like life-altering conclusion, it feels like. It feels like I don't know. It feels like I have just painted the Sistine Chapel, to be quite honest. Obviously, I'm going to continue evolving, and I might look back at this spread in like a year and be like, oh, Christ, what are you doing? But right now, this is my favorite thing that I've created in a very long time. Thank you to ARRTX for the supplies, and thank you to you, dear viewer, for being here. I will do my regular outro now. That is the worst branding I've ever given myself. Is kissing the microphone on a regular basis.
Welcome to the end of the video. I keep ending videos holding something in my hand. Today, it's a Sprite Zero Sugar. I'm so happy that my slightly desperate begging worked. Thank you to ARRTX for the markers. Like I mentioned, they didn't pay me, but they did send me the markers, and I am very grateful. I hope this review was helpful. If you've been thinking about getting the markers, I do actually recommend them, and I'll leave the links to where you can get them and the ARRTX website. I hope everyone has a good June. It's currently June 4th as I'm filming this, so don't forget to apply sunscreen. Please, because like skin cancer is not cool.